quick little mini lesson within this while I'm at it. So first things first, we know that the vertical axis is y, the horizontal axis is x. We see these vertical hash marks that I've put in here, right? And one of the things I used to share with my students is think about how this hash mark looks like the letter I. So remember that the x-axis has the independent variable, so I for independent, which of course means that the y-axis must represent the dependent variable. All right, so now you know where things are supposed to go, but you may not recognize which is the dependent or the independent variable when you're reading a text, right? Well, here's a way you can figure that out. So what I like to say is that the result depends on the independent. So I'm literally drawing an arrow saying going from the dependent, saying that this up here, everything on the y-axis depends on what's happening down here, or the result, okay, of what's happening down here on the x-axis, on the independent variable. So I shortened that to say the result depends on the independent. Let's take a simple example. So we have study time on the x-axis as our independent variable, and on our y-axis we have our grades, okay? And that is going to represent our dependent variable. Now, how can you figure out what goes where? Let's do a quick little test. Do grades depend on how much I study? Like, does the grade I get depend on how much I study? Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. That sounds right. Good. So again, the result or the grade depends on the dependent, okay? Or sorry, the independent. The grade depends on the independent, which is your study time, right? So that makes sense. If I were to reverse this is a quick test. If you're struggling with where the variable goes, you can say, does study time depend on grades? No, that doesn't make sense, right? Study time doesn't depend on grades. Grades are dependent upon how much you study, all right? So that's how you can kind of think about it. I always told my students to just put this example in the back of their mind so they can remember cause and effect, all right? So that hopefully will help you with that little mini lesson inside of our 5 tips for AP Biology. I couldn't resist but teach it another time.